Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking a fascinating, highly critical look at the beloved 1993 classic, Sleepless in Seattle. I'm actually going to be wearing two very different hats today, stepping into the shoes of two dueling film critics to debate the true nature of this iconic story. We're going to break down the plot mechanics, the underlying thematic tension, and ask some genuinely tough questions about what this narrative is actually telling us. Sound good? Let's get into it. Okay, let's just dive right in with a big, central question that totally divides our two critics. Are we witnessing a beautiful, fated cosmic event? Or are we actually watching a dangerous psychological projection play out? You know, it's a surprisingly deep question for a 90s rom-com, but it's literally the anchor for everything we're about to explore today. To get why this is even a debate in the first place, you really have to look at the emotional core of the story. Our two main characters are fundamentally separated by geography, by their stages in life, and, frankly, by reality itself. But they are linked by this deep, shared longing for a magic connection. They're both desperately looking for something that transcends their everyday existence, which perfectly sets the stage for everything that follows. Section 1, The Anatomy of 90s Kismet. Let's map out the playing field here and look at the incredible emotional and physical distance between our protagonists in Act 1. Just picture this stark contrast. On one side, you've got Sam Baldwin, a grieving widower who is functionally paralyzed by loss, living on a houseboat in Seattle. And on the exact opposite side, there's Annie Reed. She's a journalist in Baltimore, engaged to a guy named Walter, who is sensible and stable, but ultimately uninspiring. We are dealing with two people existing in entirely different emotional universes. And this kicks off a wild, long-distance fixation. The whole thing is sparked by an 8-year-old meddling on a national radio show on Christmas Eve, and it culminates all the way on Valentine's Day at the Empire State Building. That specific timeline, from a desperate radio broadcast in December to a frantic cross-country dash in February, is exactly where our critics find their battleground. Which brings us to the crux of the debate. One critic looks at this and sees an absolute masterpiece of romantic fate and kismet. But the other critic? They look at the exact same sequence of events and see a deeply problematic parasocial obsession. Let's dig into these two arguments, starting with the romantic view. Section 2, Critic 1, A Magical Fate. Speaking as Critic 1, I will argue passionately that this film isn't cynical at all. It's a genuine masterpiece of kismet, the idea that some people are just flat out destined to be together. For me, the emotional anchor here is Sam's raw vulnerability. When he confesses on national radio, "I just need to get out of bed every morning and breathe," that's not a red flag. It actually makes him profoundly human and appealing. The film beautifully treats his grief not just as an obstacle to get over, but as a fundamental part of his soul that ultimately draws Annie to him. Just think about the actual choice Annie is facing here. Sam represents a cosmic event. He's fate. He's magic. Walter, on the other hand, represents active choice, sensible decisions, logic. As Critic 1, I'd say the film is brilliantly asking, is true love a logical choice you make or a cosmic destiny you discover? From this angle, Annie's crazy cross-country pursuit is a totally valid cosmic journey to find her fate. Section 3, Critic 2, A Parasocial Obsession. All right, taking off those rose-colored glasses to step in as Critic 2, we really have to deconstruct Annie's behavior through a much more analytical, cautionary lens. Where Critic 1 sees magic, I see a multitude of red flags. We have to talk about parasocial intimacy, because let's be honest, Annie isn't actually in love with Sam the person. She literally doesn't know him. She is fixated on a disembodied voice on the radio, a guy she only knows as Sleepless in Seattle. This perspective argues the film is romanticizing a dangerously flawed idea, the illusion that you can truly know someone through a public persona before you ever meet them in real life. Let's be real about the red flags here for a second. First, Annie projects all of her own romantic ideals onto a complete stranger, just because her current life feels like it's missing a spark. She's fixating on a fantasy. Second, let's look at the sheer absurdity of the plot. A child literally manipulates his grieving father into flying across the country to meet a woman who essentially stalked him. And finally, she throws away a stable, real relationship for a complete projection of a man she's never even met. Section 4, The Empire State Building Climax. So how do these two completely different arguments collide? Well, it all goes down at the very end of Act 3, the ultimate convergence of fantasy and reality. The film builds this massive tension through misconnections. Remember, Annie actually travels to Seattle earlier in the film, secretly watches Sam, completely mistakes his sister for a girlfriend, and panics and retreats. Meanwhile, Sam is just entirely baffled by his son's obsession with a stranger's letter. But it all comes down to Valentine's Day. Annie realizes her relationship with Walter is devoid of magic, breaks off the engagement, and rushes to New York. Sam and Jonah are already there, and in this deliberate, beautiful homage to the 1957 film An Affair to Remember, they finally meet at the top of the Empire State Building just moments before it closes. Section 5. Love or just an idea? We have finally reached the top of the building and the ultimate climax of our two critical perspectives. So, wrapping up this explainer, I've got to leave you with this one final provocative thought to chew on. Based on everything we've just unpacked today, did Sam and Annie actually fall in love? Or did they simply fall in love with the idea of being in love? Is this iconic 90s ending a stunning triumph of cosmic destiny or merely a dangerous psychological projection? It is a real testament to the film that both of these arguments hold so much water. Think about that the very next time you watch it. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive and keep asking those great questions.